Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in today to this broadcast featuring tech and service delivery in government demos. Please introduce yourselves in the chat with your name and where you're joining us from today. My name is Michelle Storr, and I'm from the Tech Talent Project, which, along with the Volcker Alliance, has been contracted by the Office of Personnel Management to convene today's event. I'm really excited to moderate today's session. Products and services look different in government, but many aspects are the same. Today, you'll see how technologists in government design products and services for the public. Plus, these agencies are hiring in their own booths, so be sure to visit them after hearing more about the opportunities related to the presentations today. We have some fantastic speakers lined up to show some real projects that you could work on when joining their agencies. We'll see demos in the following order. First up will be the Department of Energy EV charger security. We'll hear from the IRS Direct File team. Next, Medicaid public health emergency. And finally, from the General Service Admin Technology Transformation Services, we'll hear all about login.gov. We're going to save questions to the end where we'll leave time for a Q&A. If you do have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat and we'll have someone get back to you. First up, I'm happy to introduce Isa and
Good afternoon, everybody. I come from the Department of Energy, Office of Cybersecurity, Emergency Response, and Energy Security. I am part of the Risk Management Tool Division. We work with standards, integrations, and testing. And within our portfolio, we do research and development. We implement standards, test equipment, and integrate technologies into the energy sector. We also collaborate with the national labs. In this case, today we are talking about one of our exciting projects on EV grid, which one of our researchers, Griffin, is going to talk to you today. This is a collaboration between INL and the Department of Energy, and we also have collaboration with other national labs, but this one specifically will be with Idaho National Labs. Griffin?
Thank you very much, Isa. So I have some slides for you guys today. Let me share that with you, and then we'll get started. Let's see. All right, is that working for you guys? Perfect. So here at Idaho National Labs, we hold the Electric Vehicle Security Architecture Lab Demonstrations Project that's funded by Department of Energy CSER. Basically, we're funded in collaboration with Pacific Northwest National Labs, Sandia National Labs, and our goal is to basically research critical infrastructure cybersecurity around EV charging, right? And so we do that through a series of demonstrations, testing to create best practices, mitigations, and impact of electric vehicle charging infrastructure and their platforms, along with threat mitigations, right? So with all of that, we also partner with private industry and government partners. So we're always changing the products that we're looking at. We're trying to inform policy and good standards in EV charging. We do all of this in a really awesome garage space that we share here at Idaho National Labs, along with our hydrogen research, power systems simulation. But over here on the left, we have our bidirectional EV charging and EV charging infrastructure laboratory, right? So we lovingly call it the EVIL lab, so Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure Lab. Basically, we've done extreme fast charging, CCS communication analysis, and simulations, and you can view our lab system through a virtual tour if need be. We've done wireless power transference research. So you may be familiar with wireless powering your phone, right? And charging your phone. We're researching how to do that with vehicles, right? There's other national labs doing this as well, and seeing if that can come up, both static and dynamic wireless power transference. So like in movement, right? How do we charge vehicles while they're on the move, right? But then we also do cyber physical security. This is, I think, where we really lean hardest into is consequence-driven prioritized cybersecurity research, right? So we're looking for major impacts to the grid infrastructure and to the charging infrastructure. that ties back into the grid to see if there's any ways that we can cause blackouts, widespread impacts, or harm to equipment or people, right? The goal of it is, right, we do a lot of analysis, we do security assessment and penetration testing, right, for both the electric vehicles as well as the management systems and the chargers themselves. We develop mitigation solutions, right? Here at Idaho National Labs, we also work with Department of Energy VTO office, right, that developed a R&D 100 award-winning safety instrumented system, which you can see here in SIS Core, that detects and sees the malicious tampering and the attacks happening in real time and thwarts it, right, so that when it's working, right, your charger should just charge your vehicle, right? There shouldn't be any type of intermittent, shouldn't have any instantaneous load shed, etc. We also do outreach, right, with industry, and we do a lot of industry engagement. So we participate in the CHARN Cybersecurity Task Force. We support the Cyber Auto Challenge, which is teaching students how to hack vehicles, hack chargers. We show up with equipment, testing equipment, and help facilitate that competition, amongst a lot of other outreach opportunities. We talked a little bit about our assessment and demonstrations that we do, right? So when we find these attacks and these vulnerabilities in these chargers, right, we like to showcase them in a best practice and a recommendation. So we work with vendors, right, that we're working on the chargers. We do private disclosure, right, with those vendors to make sure that the vulnerabilities and issues that we see, right, are going to be fixed, right? We don't ever show anything that hasn't already been discussed with the vendor and have a fix for it, right? But these demonstrations allow us to engage with industry stakeholders, government stakeholders, and vendors, manufacturers, owner operators, and system integrators, right, to showcase these best practices, such as here's ways that you can implement better design considerations from the engineering standpoint up all the way to management and installation at these facilities. We do heavy duty, light duty EV charging. We take equipment from lots of other partner programs and government agencies, such as CISA gave us this Ford Mach-E Mustang, which is awesome. And right now we're doing V2X, which is vehicle to everything, right? You may have seen some things in the news if you're in the car market right now. Ford F-150 Lightnings have vehicle to home, right? So that's bi-directional research, right? So previously all of our research was extreme fast charging, level 2 DC fast charging, right? Where it's one direction. Now power can go from your vehicle back to the power grid. Your vehicles are now kind of a battery energy storage system, which is really hot topic right now for a lot of research, right? Trying to figure those out. But you have mobile battery energy storage systems supplying energy back to the grid. That all opens up a whole nother landscape for attack and for bad actors to manipulate in. And so we support CSER, VTO, and our V2X MOU collaboration. Here's our research space, right? In this space, you can see pictured, we have a Ford F-150 Lightning, we have a Nissan Leaf, but we also have on the far left, we have a BorgWarner 60 kilowatt bidirectional school bus charger, right? So it can be school buses, public buses, it's for any type of heavy duty vehicle, right? We also have a Ford Intelligent Backup Power, CCS1. So that's going to be your vehicle to home charger that you would install into your house. And then we also have Fermata Energy CHAdeMO vehicle to grid charger as well. And then with that, we paired up with Chroma 61860 grid emulators, right? That allow us to do full emulation of how these things are installed out in the field and supplying power to these vehicles and accepting power back from the vehicles to the grid, right? So we didn't have a bus, right? We're working with some partners, gonna get a bus in here soon, but buses take up a lot of space in our research lab. We like walking around, right? So we came up with a way to do bidirectional EV emulation with this Bitrode battery emulator, right? And using a CCS communicator. These are some of the things that we're developing to facilitate our testing. We do this all the time, day in, day out, trying to come up with better ways to save money, save taxpayer money, and utilize partnerships, and then write these these findings up and these discoveries up to give back to universities, industries, people that are doing grid research where they may not have all the access to these resources, right? And so that's one way that we're doing some emulation in the lab, which is really fun. So think of it as a test tube, right, with water, right, going back and forth between one test tube to the other, right? We're sending INL grid power into the Bitrode and the Bitrode back, right? Obviously, there's no 100% lossless situation, but rather than venting it out as heat, right, we just have a little bit of loss. And so it's another way we can be a little bit more energy conscious with our testing. How do we visualize all these things, right? And this is one of the really cool slides that I'm excited to share with you guys, right? And this is a great dashboard that we've developed with some of our amazing researchers here have worked really hard on this, right? So seeing power, right? It's one thing to have, big multimeters and voltmeters and everything, right? To check and see where everything is, but having a whole group of people seeing it, right? It's hard to have everyone huddled around it. So we have these great big displays, right? That we can showcase this graphic that shows power going from the grid to the charger, to the vehicles, and back from vehicles to the chargers, to the grid. We can see site reactive power, site real power, harmonic distortion, right? So that when we're issuing these attacks, we can see where the grid fails, such as if we're doing instantaneous load shed based attacks, right? That would be one where we could see the power being just completely stopped, the state of charge completely stopping with one of these. And so as we're looking into these, right, and we find these, right, it's something that we're going to be specifically looking for. There's a lot of stuff I wasn't able to talk about today. There's a lot more cool things, but here's some more stuff that we're doing. If you want to read more about our demonstration, our test fit payloads and methodologies and our best practices, right? We have our EV-Salad 2023 demonstration report. So feel free, if you got a smartphone, right, pull it out, scan it. It'll take you right to that report, right? And then we also have Access, which is a really cool product that was developed by an INL intern, right? We've kept him on retainer while he's finishing up his master's degree right now, but he'll be joining us here soon in the spring. But he developed a full EV emulator, right? It emulates the CCS communications for a vehicle as well as a charger. So it doesn't do power, but it'll take the communications, and you can plug a charger into this little Pelican case box, right? And essentially it'll think that it's plugged in. It'll issue state of charge and go through all the motions, so you can test all the communications. Pull up Wireshark, right? Start using some really cool tools and analysis, right? And then last but not least, we really need your help, right? And so we'd really love for you guys to come work with us at any of the national labs, right? I'm biased towards mine here at Idaho National Labs, but it's one team, one fight. We're all doing really good work here on behalf of DOE CSER. Some skills, right? If you have any hardware, firmware, software skills, right? We're developing custom code for test-effect payloads, right? Developing a mitigation solutions, hardware and software solutions. And we really need independent team players. And what I mean by that is people that can work by themselves, because in research, right, we're doing stuff no one's done before, right? So it's not something that we can really hold your hand on, because we all really don't know what we're doing. That's the part of research, is we're finding it out together. But we need people that can also work on a team and collaborate, right? And then the scalable criticality mindset, I think, is another really important thing. So when we're looking at issues in technology, right, we want to look at the scale, how that affects the overall U.S. grid impact, right, and in securing our grid energy security, right? And then last but not least, if you have that little dark bit research tick, right, where you can think like a bad actor, right, we want you, right? And so that's what we do day in, day out, is think like bad actors, try to figure out, right, best way to figure out how to break into a bank is you hire a bank robber and tell them, tell us how you broke in, right? And that's what we do every day. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Griff and Isa. Appreciate how you are bringing exactly what you're doing, both visually and how folks can connect their skills to the delivery services that you're all providing. So really appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over to George. Thrilled to have you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, glad to be here. So my name is George. I work at the IRS. I am a system analyst technical. That's the IRS's way of saying I'm a software engineer. So I was actually hired through this Tech to Gov event last year to work on my current project at the IRS, which is IRS Direct File. So let me share my screen. Alrighty. All right. So what is Direct File? Direct File is a new tool to file your federal taxes for free directly with the IRS. Last year, we had a pilot with a limited scope. It was open to the public on March 8th. It was available in English and Spanish, easy to use on desktop or mobile, extensively tested with taxpayers, and accessible beyond 508 compliance. So, how did we do? Well, we did well. Here's some positive reviews. It was amazing. Easiest taxes I've ever prepared. Really impressed that this was put together by the IRS. The entire process is top notch, precise, and efficient. So, we got a net promoter score of 74. For some context, anything above 50 is considered excellent. Above 80 is world class. So we were 6 points away from being considered world class. I even believe that our net promoter score was higher than Starbucks. So take that, Starbucks. Um, 86% of taxpayers said their experience with Direct File increased their trust in the IRS. We had over 140,000 accepted returns. And what's funny, it was a pilot, but in the government, a pilot, you would think normally a pilot would be like maybe 1,000 users, but in the government, a pilot's 100,000, over 100,000 users. So it's a great opportunity to work with scale. So how did this happen? I thought government tech was supposed to be bad. I thought it was supposed to break down, be hard to use. Well, it happened because of our way of working. And what and here's some examples. We did user research, aka we actually talked to taxpayers. We had very talented UI UX designers who created an easy to use design. We also use plain language. If you look at the tax code, it is very complicated and it's kind of like lawyer speak, and I can't understand it myself. So that's why we have the plain language. And this is very important. We had a limited product scope. We did not try to make everything, we did not try to cover every possible scenario all at once. We chose a limited scope for the pilot and we built the app iteratively. We also used a modern tech stack, React, TypeScript, Java Spring, AWS, and we were actually agile. Actually, halfway through the tax season, we put in our first pre-population for last year's for taxpayers' AGI, or adjusted gross income. And so this is where you come in. The government needs experienced tech professionals from the private sector. You have the opportunity to bring modern ways of working to government services so all American citizens can benefit. And this is also the part where I mentioned, because it's Halloween, I wanted to wear an Uncle Sam costume, but the IRS wouldn't pay for it. So let me show you the app. Let me demo the app a little bit. So this is Direct File. So after you log
George,
in,
I'm just going to
yeah,
give you, we have about 1 minute to show this so we can keep moving through the demos. Thank you.
sure. So this is a quick demo. I'll say for here, I have already that I'm Marge from The Simpsons. But what I wanted to show about this is it takes you step by step through your taxes. And what's cool, that was something that we did, is that we don't show every question. We only show questions that are relevant. So if you're never married, we're not going to ask you about your spouse. But if you are married, well, now you have to answer questions about your spouse. And that will be a quick demo. Yeah. And that's what we're working on at the IRS, helping taxpayers file for free, directly, and easy to use.
Thank you so much, George, and really also appreciate you sharing your own story about being a hire into the public sector, specifically making an impact on direct file. Thank you for that demo. We're going to turn it over to Luke. Luke, over to you, and just being cautious of time. Not sure how long we can run over on the demo, maybe 5 minutes so we can leave time for Ann and Hannah and questions at the end. Thanks for your flexibility.
Of course. Don't worry, I can talk very fast, Michelle. But thank you all for joining today. My name is Luke Farrell. I'm the Senior Advisor for Technology and Delivery at the White House, but I also joined government through the U.S. Digital Service, which I highly recommend folks look into. So I think Kate or Michelle will pull up my slides. But while they do that, the focus of this presentation is on Medicaid unwinding. So over the past year, over 90 million Americans were required to renew their health insurance at the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you might imagine, that was an enormous technical and user experience feat to make sure that all those people could renew their health insurance in time. And so what we embarked on was a process by which we could automatically renew using software as many people as possible for their health insurance. And I'm not sure, Kate, if you're having trouble pulling up my slides. But if that's the case, that's no problem. Essentially, what we did was there was a policy available to us. Yep, that's exactly where I was. So there's an opportunity for us to automatically renew individuals. And many people, many states who administer the Medicaid program had highly different rates of how many people were being automatically renewed for their benefits. So somewhere like Oregon, almost 90% of Medicaid beneficiaries were having their health care coverage renewed without any burden, where somewhere like California, less than 30% of people were. So this wasn't because of different policy positions of the states, but because of implementation and technology limitations between the states. Next slide, if you could. So what we realized was that states needed builders, they needed technologists, they needed folks like the people in this group to be able to help actually fix the software that administered these automatic renewals for over 90 million Americans. So that's exactly what we did. We went to 8 states on the ground. We flew around the country and helped them improve their systems and processes. If you jump to the next slide. And so we would do kind of a traditional private sector sales funnel where we're looking actually at their Medicaid population and seeing how many people are getting to the end and maintaining their coverage. Jump to the next slide. We found all sorts of bottlenecks, including their websites, their mobile apps, whether or not we could send text messages, things as simple as doing a plain language redesign of the envelopes people were receiving in the mail so that they knew they needed to renew their coverage and when. And if you jump to the next slide, the process really worked. At the end, in under 12 months, we renewed over 5 million people automatically for coverage, which meant over 1 million people who would have otherwise lost their health insurance. That means they show up to the doctor and they can't get treatment. Maybe they can't afford their prescriptions, so they stop taking them, actually maintain their coverage. So 1 million people, primarily children, kept their coverage as a result of a couple of technologists joining government, flying around the country, trying to help states improve their software. This also cut burdens. So we removed all that unnecessary paperwork and all the hours people used to spend in phone trees by actually fixing the process for them with technology on the front end. And that also meant that we saved states and local governments millions of dollars and millions of hours of their own work trying to process these burdens on the back end. And so what we learned here was that we can not only keep life-saving health insurance for millions of individuals, millions of vulnerable individuals through some technology, but we could also make people's lives easier, improve their trust in government, save the government money, and save folks time and respect their dignity. And so this was a story of how we took technologists, introduced them to state and federal government, and transformed the lives of millions of people as a result. And I hope you will join us.
Thanks so much, Luke. I appreciate also the way bringing home that products and delivery services are directly impacting millions of Americans, both in terms of public sector employees' time, but in terms of also the reach to actual Americans receiving the services. So thank you. And last but not least, Ann and Hannah, I'm ready to turn it over to you for login.gov.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Lewis, and I'm the Director of Technology Transformation Services at GSA. I've worked in the tech world for about 20 years in the public sector, private sector, nonprofit, in a variety of individual contributor and leadership roles. And in my experience, government is where the hardest and the most rewarding work is. So thank you so much for being interested. Technology Transformation Services is a now almost 700-person organization of engineers, designers, product managers, data scientists, and more. And we work across the federal government to help agencies deliver better government experiences to the public by shipping great products like login.gov, which you'll hear about in a minute, helping agencies with capacity building, expert guidance, especially for the hard stuff like modernization, and helping ensure that all agency programs are solving the right problems, as some of our colleagues mentioned here, by actually talking to users, centering the needs of the public, and making sure that we're solving the right problems. TTS has joined multiple Tech2Gov career fairs since October 2023, and we really appreciate all of you being interested. We've hired hundreds of tech workers over the last few years. I think we reviewed thousands of qualified applicants from this event last year, leading to more than 100 interviews, 62 candidate selections, and 40 folks who are new at TTS this year. So welcome, welcome. So let's get into login.gov. Have you ever wondered why it can feel painful to interact with the government? One part of this is that every time you interact with a new government website, because of the way that programs and budget and decision-making authority are siloed across government, often you have to create a whole new account with a new set of credentials, fill out a bunch of forms to prove your identity, often giving the same information over and over again each time to interact with all of these different touch points across the federal enterprise. So login.gov, which is managed by TTS here at GSA, allows you to have one account for government, a single sign-on that you can use to access benefits and services across government agencies like unemployment benefits, Social Security, Veterans Health Services, etc. So by offering this product up as a shared service to all government agencies, not only are we saving time for the public and preventing them from having to enter the same information over and over again, but we're helping to de-silo all of the data behind the scenes and also try to offer better fraud protection for all of the agencies that use us. And ultimately, what we try to do at TTS is offer secure, scalable platforms. Single sign-on and identity management are expensive and time-consuming to build and maintain, and most agencies don't employ lots of software engineers or product teams, and it's not part of the agency's core value proposition to figure out how to solve problems in the identity space. And agencies would rather focus on some of the work that you've just heard about that's core to the services they're providing. So our platform now supports over 10 million monthly active users and 40 million monthly sign-ins across nearly 50 agencies and states. This sheer scale, which again, this is medium-sized for government. And if you're wondering why join government and you're an engineer, it's because you get to work on and have a major role in really big programs that touch millions of users and sometimes billions of dollars. And the scale also gives us the opportunity to make websites more accessible in a variety of different ways, including because members of the public can reuse their credentials. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Hannah Kim, the director of login.gov. Take it away, Hannah.
Awesome, Anne. Thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Hannah Kim. I'm the director for login.gov, and I joined the login team earlier this year from the private sector. So I'm especially excited to be in this opportunity, joined by these panelists talking about some really exciting work we're doing in government and technology. So today I want to do a demo of our recent facial matching step that we've introduced to our identity verification flow. But before I show the demo, I think it's really helpful to give a little bit of context on what identity verification is and why this is a big deal at all. As Anne shared, login.gov offers two distinct services, one around authentication. You may commonly know this as MFA, multi-factor authentication, or multi-factor authentication paired with single sign-on. But the other service that we offer is identity verification, which is a process that a user undertakes to prove who they say they are when they're accessing other partner agency services, including in the federal government as well as the state governments. Identity verification, as a result of the great number of checks that we undertake as part of that process, enables agencies that require a higher level of assurance and security for the applications that they serve to be able to prove who the users are, who they are when they access their systems. So login.gov's online identity verification allows users to verify who they are from the convenience of their home or on the go from their smartphone. And this ensures that services and benefits that the agencies are distributing are going to the right person. So our recent introduction of the facial matching step is just one additional step that Login.gov is taking to bolster our online identity verification services. This enables Login.gov to offer our agency partners an identity verification option that meets a higher level of assurance and security bar in line with the NIST 863 Identity Verification Guidelines, also known as IAL2. So, what's important to note here is that we wanted to make sure that we are building things listening from our partner agencies. And when we went to our customer agencies and asked, what do you need from us? They told us they would like for us to offer an identity verification service that meets a higher level of assurance level as laid out by the NIST 863 guidelines. So, that's one of the reasons why we decided to focus our organization's energy and resources to building out an online verification identity service that includes a facial matching step. So this is a quick demo of a video, and then I'll come back online to make sure that I give a little bit of context before we close out.
Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm a product manager at Login.gov. This is an April 2024 demo of document authentication with a remote biometric comparison, some new functionality we've been building. For this demo, I've already created a Login.gov account, so we're going to start at the first screen of identity verification. Here, I'm going to learn a little bit about what identity verification is, what I need. I'm going to continue. I'll learn how it works. I'll accept the rules of use, and I'll continue. Now I'll get to choose how I want to verify my identity. I'm going to choose to verify my identity online today. Now we're at document authentication. This is where I need to add photos of my ID and a photo of myself. Now for this demo, since my real driver's license contains PII, I'm just going to use an old student ID. But as a reminder, Login.gov only supports a state-issued driver's license or a non-driving identification card today. I'm going to scroll down, choose to take a photo, allow camera access. I'm going to flip my ID, choose to take a photo. And I'll continue to the new feature, which is where we need a photo of the user. We're going to compare the photo that this user takes with the photo on their ID. And when I choose to take a photo, instead of using the back camera, it's going to use the front-facing camera on my phone. I like that. I'm going to tap the green check mark. I can review these photos, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit submit. They'll be sent for processing. And that is all.
Well, I hope this is a great demonstration of what you're able to see from a user perspective, what we have introduced. But to quickly finish up,
Hello, my name is Benjamin.
To quickly finish up, I think it's really important that we're able to spend some time to not only talk about what technology feature we're developing, but how we are delivering them. And as we began making concrete steps towards introducing this new facial matching step, we thought it was critical we do this in a manner that stays true to our public sector principles of equity, privacy, and transparency. So I won't go into the details here, but our decision to leverage best-in-class facial matching algorithm based on the great work of our federal colleagues at NIST, collaborating with our academic partners to assess the equitable impact of identity verification flow as a whole is all a demonstration of the fact that we care deeply about not only what we deliver, but how we deliver them. Lastly, I just want to say it is a great privilege to come to work every day knowing that we are able to serve the public and such a large swath of the public. Last August, we collaborated with the Department of Labor in Hawaii to serve the victims of the devastating wildfires in Maui by helping them quickly verify their identity to get unemployment insurance claimants and the critical benefits that they need in the time of the most dire need in an emergency like the wildfire. It is stories like this that remind me that behind all the statistics of the great number of people and accounts that we serve are individuals. And I just urge you to join us in this critical work, because without mission-oriented technologists, we're interested in making sure that we're able to have a technology that is putting human experience at the center. We can't make these change. So I urge you to join us, and I'm excited to also give a plug-in for the 2 product manager positions we're opening at Login.gov, and really, really interested in continuing the conversation after this event as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Hannah and Anne. I want to say thank you so much to all of you for sharing the impactful work at your agencies. Really appreciate you sharing how to connect the dots for folks looking to take their experiences and make an impact in the public sector doing this meaningful work. We are a little bit over, but we do have the opportunity to answer at least a few questions that are coming in. If you're still tuned in, which it looks like many of you are, please feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat and we will field them. Also, I will ask for the folks who have presented, if you also don't mind dropping in the chat your agency name again, so that once folks exit listening to this programming and they go to Wayfind and navigate in the virtual booths in the lobby, they know where to go explore more to learn about the agencies you all represent and the work and opportunities that they may be a part of. So feel free to keep those questions coming in. We'll stay here for a minute or two to be able to answer those. And if not, thank you for joining this portion of delivery demos today in Tech2Gov. We hope that you have enjoyed what you heard. These will be recorded and they will be live. You will receive communication about how to access those in the future and share with others who we like to call curious about exploring opportunities in the public sector. Thank you all presenters again for your time, their demos to share with our community today.